The crisp autumn air nipped at my cheeks as I navigated the throng of tourists outside Buckingham Palace. The usual vibrant hum of excitement hung in the air, punctuated by the click of cameras capturing the iconic scene. I, Amelia Hayes, a moderately successful businesswoman, considered myself a pragmatist, someone who valued efficiency and results over tradition and pomp. I'd seen the changing of the guard countless times, both in person and online, and while I appreciated the spectacle, it always struck me as a bit performative. This afternoon, however, something felt different. Perhaps it was the way the late afternoon sun cast long shadows, painting the palace grounds in a dramatic light. Or maybe it was the palpable anticipation of the crowd, a collective breath held in expectation. Whatever the reason, a sense of unease prickled at me, a premonition that the well-rehearsed choreography of the day was about to be disrupted. Then I saw him. He emerged from the crowd like a storm cloud, a figure of jarring dissonance against the backdrop of orderly tourism. His name, I later learned, was Marcus Thorne, and his presence radiated a volatile energy that sent ripples of discomfort through the assembled onlookers. Tourists instinctively parted, parents pulling their children closer as he pushed through the crowd, his heavily tattooed arms and scarred knuckles hinting at a history far removed from the ceremonial elegance of the setting. He moved with a deliberate aggression, each step a challenge to the quiet dignity of the palace grounds. My initial reaction was one of mild annoyance. Another tourist looking to disrupt the proceedings, I thought. But as I observed him more closely, a deeper unease settled in. His eyes, cold and calculating, were fixed on a nearby Queen's Guard, and the look in them wasn't one of admiration or curiosity. It was something colder, something predatory. Two elderly women, startled by Thorne's approach, hastily retreated from their prime photo-taking spot. A father gently steered his wide-eyed son backward, a subtle but telling sign that trouble was brewing. The excited chatter of the crowd subsided into hushed murmurs, a collective holding of breath. Thorne began to circle the guard, his movements unerringly similar to a predator sizing up its prey. The guard, a young man named Alex Davies, remained stoic, his face a mask of impassivity. His scarlet tunic, a splash of vibrant color against the gray stone of the palace, seemed to symbolize an unwavering commitment to duty in the face of encroaching chaos. "Look at this," Thorne sneered, his voice carrying the rough edge of someone accustomed to shouting in confined spaces. "Standing there like a toy soldier. Think you're something special, don't you?" The air crackled with tension. Thorne continued his taunts, his words dripping with contempt, mocking the guard's uniform, his medals, his very presence. He deliberately invaded the space that tradition and respect had always dictated, his voice growing louder, his actions more provocative. A pair of veterans, their own medals proudly displayed, had been explaining the guard's role to their grandchildren. They fell silent now, their faces grim, their eyes tracking Thorne's movements with a practiced weariness. I saw one of them touch his campaign medals unconsciously, a reflex born of years spent recognizing the subtle signs of escalating conflict. Guard Davies remained motionless, his gaze fixed straight ahead. But I noticed a subtle tightening of his grip on his ceremonial rifle, a barely perceptible shift in his stance that spoke of a readiness far beyond ceremonial duty. This was a trained soldier, assessing a threat, preparing for the unpredictable. Thorne's taunts escalated, his words becoming more personal, more aggressive. He reached out, his scarred hand hovering inches from the guard's chest, a deliberate violation of personal space. The tension in the crowd was palpable. Some backed away, sensing the imminent eruption of violence. Others, myself included, remained rooted to the spot, a morbid fascination holding us captive. Thorne's hand moved towards the guard's medals, his fingers closing around one of them. He rattled the decorations, each one representing acts of valor and sacrifice, with a callous disregard that made my stomach churn. "What did you do to earn these?" he sneered. "Stand really still for a really long time." The guard remained impassive, but the muscles in his jaw twitched. "Maybe we should see what's under this fancy hat." Thorn continued, his hand moving towards the guard's bearskin. The guard's stance shifted ever so slightly. It was a subtle movement, almost imperceptible, but it was enough to make Thorn pause. For a fraction of a second, something in his eyes flickered, uncertainty, perhaps even a flicker of fear. But it was gone in an instant, replaced by a renewed surge of bravado. Then, his hand reached for the rifle. Everything that followed happened in a blur. One moment, Thorn was grasping the barrel of the rifle. The next, he was staggering backward, gasping for air, the butt of the rifle having connected with his solar plexus with brutal efficiency. The sound of the impact reverberated through the stunned silence that followed. Thorn's bravado evaporated, replaced by shock and disbelief. The guard, having delivered his swift and decisive warning, resumed his ceremonial stance, the rifle back in its proper position, as if nothing had happened. But everything had changed. The air thrummed with a new kind of tension, the quiet hum of potential violence. Thorn, his face flushed with humiliation and rage, struggled to regain his composure. He threatened, he blustered. But the words lacked the conviction they had held moments before. The guard remained motionless, his eyes fixed forward, but his stance now carried the unmistakable aura of a predator, coiled and ready. Thorn lunged. The guard responded with a single, ear-splitting shot, a warning shot that echoed off the palace walls, shattering the illusion of ceremonial formality. The smell of gunpowder filled the air, a stark reminder of the very real consequences of Thorn's actions. Thorn froze, his body locked in mid-stride, his face a mask of pure terror. The tough guy facade crumbled, revealing the fear beneath. The guard, his voice now carrying the steely edge of command honed in combat zones, ordered Thorn to his knees. Thorn complied, his hands raised in surrender, his bravado replaced by abject fear. As armed police arrived to take Thorn into custody, the crowd watched in stunned silence. The two veterans exchanged knowing glances, a silent acknowledgement of the guard's controlled power, the quiet strength of a trained soldier who had delivered a precise and effective response to a clear threat. The incident served as a stark reminder that the Queen's guards are more than just ceremonial figures. They are trained soldiers, guardians of tradition, yes, but also defenders of order and security. Their stoicism is not weakness, but discipline. Their silence is not passivity, but control. And their ceremonial rifles are a very real reminder that some lines should never be crossed. If you found this story captivating, please subscribe to my channel for more real-life narratives exploring themes of courage, resilience, and the unexpected moments that shape our lives. Click the bell icon to be notified of new uploads, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What would you have done in Guard Davies' position? Let's discuss.